Hey everybody, it's Emily at HOMESCHOOLING, and today we're going to do a little bit of a relaxed hangout kind of Q&A video. I think the last time I did a Q&A was like right around the same time I started my channel, which I don't know why I would have done one back then when I didn't have as many subscribers and stuff. But anyway, I asked you guys for some questions and we're just going to kind of run through some of them and we'll see how this video goes. Okay, I had a couple different people ask me why I started homeschooling. I basically, when I first started, was when Sarah was like preschool age, and we were starting to look into private schools because they didn't have public kindergarten option back then. And when I saw it was going to cost $2,000 just for kindergarten, I was like, well, that's silly. Surely I can do that for cheaper. And then also at that time, I was very heavily into the baby center message boards. And several of the moms there in my August babies group were starting to homeschool. And I was interested in that just because I vaguely remembered growing up, there was a family that lived a couple doors down from my grandparents who homeschooled. And I remember thinking those were like the weirdest kids I'd ever met because they were like a very religious family. So the girls always wore dresses. They were like the very definition of what you think of when you think evangelical Christian homeschool family, like denim jumpers, long skirts. You couldn't say bad words, like I got fussed at for saying dumb, I got fussed at for saying stupid, crap, that kind of stuff. And they were just weird to me. They didn't know a lot of pop culture. So I had some kind of negative preconceptions about homeschooling. So when I heard people talking about it, it caught my interest, and then I started researching it more. And so when I realized that that's something I could do, and then I could cover kindergarten on our own. At the time, I don't think I really thought too far ahead. I don't think I was thinking in terms of, oh, this is the thing we're going to do forever. I think it was more of we're going to do this for kindergarten. And then we did it. And I was like, well, it's going really well. Let's keep doing it. And so we did. And then it just became the thing that we do. And we've done it ever since. And I don't know. We've just always homeschooled, and it's just a part of our family culture. My husband and I were talking the other day, would I have still done that if we had stayed in Virginia? Because we were in Virginia before we came here to New Hampshire, and in Virginia they had public kindergarten. So maybe I wouldn't have homeschooled if we did live in Virginia the whole time, but we didn't, and we came here and now we're homeschoolers. So I don't know. It's weird to think about, if we did this one thing differently, how would that affect our whole lives? But I don't know. I don't even know what that would look like if we didn't homeschool. I can't even visualize that. So it's weird, but that's kind of why we homeschooled initially, and we've just kind of kept doing it because it worked, and why not? Okay, somebody else asked me along the same lines as homeschooling stuff, tips for homeschooling high school. I need to give myself some of these because we're about to jump right back into that whole thing in a couple of years. My youngest is 7th grade this year, so we're heading into that territory again. I would say start planning ahead a year or so before you get to high school, knowing what is required for graduation where you live, and knowing just a general, you don't need to know the exact college your child is going to go to because obviously you don't know that when you're starting the high school years, but having an idea of requirements in general requirements in the colleges that are in your area, and that way you're not missing an entire whole course load that you might need to hit for credits to go to college. Let's see, other tips. Being organized. I say that as a person who is not. Being organized and having all your ducks in a row, knowing, keeping up with your transcripts each year instead of waiting until the end to pull it all together at once. I would recommend not doing that. as a person who's done that, don't do that. I would say, and I'm going to do it the right way with Regina, but yeah, keeping track as you go. I use a website called My Homeschool Grades. I really, really hope that they stay in business until I'm done homeschooling and beyond. I wish them well. I hope they do great things, because I met the people who run that website way back when Nash was a thing. There was a conference, like, I don't even know, 5 years ago, 6 years ago? It's been a really long time. Back when it was like the National Alliance of Secular Homeschoolers, I think is what it stands for, and they had a conference, and the people who run My Homeschool Grades were there, and I met them, and they're lovely. And their website is like just a genius tool, I think, for transcripts. So I'm going to leave a link in the description for that, but go check it out. Totally worth whatever they charge for. I don't even know. I can't remember now. But it's an awesome website, and they pull together beautiful transcripts. They look really great. That's what I used for Robbie when she was applying for college, and so it's perfect. And it's really easy to pull together as well, so I think it's a great resource. So those are my big tips, honestly, is knowing what you need to cover ahead of time so that you can make sure you're doing that, and staying organized, that you have your credits and everything situated on your transcript each year instead of doing them all at once at the end, because that's stressful. Don't do that. And so I don't know, I hope that's helpful. I don't know, I feel, even though I've done high school a couple of times, I still feel kind of like a newbie. I don't know why. That's silly. Another question I got was, how do I catalog my own books? I use an app called Handy Library, and I love it. I've been logging my books in there for the last year. I'm still not done. I have a couple shelves I haven't gotten to yet. I don't know what I'm waiting for, but I just haven't gotten to it. I haven't finished Regina's bookshelves either. I've been logging hers. I don't track Sarah's, because when she moves out, she's taking all those books with her, and most of them are things she's bought herself, so I'm not even bothering with her room. But I've been logging everything else. It's not a free app. I think they have a free option, but it only goes up to like 100 books. But I love it because I can just scan books as I get them, and it logs them in. I have bookshelves so I can keep everything organized. And it keeps me from making purchases of things I already own, because I can look it up. Also, it's really helpful when I need to read, like for a challenge. And the Build Your Library Reading Challenge, there's a prompt that is to read a book with Lost in the title. And I went into my app, I typed the word Lost, and it showed me all the books I owned that had that word in it, and I was like, oh, thank you. Now I don't have to wander the house looking at my shelves. So that was, well, I still have to go wander the house looking at my shelves to figure out where things are. But at least I know what I own. So yeah, Handy Library, I'll link that down in the description as well. Somebody wanted to know how much time I spend homeschooling. Per day, I'm assuming you're asking. I'd say, let's see, we usually start around 8:30 or 9 in the morning, and we're usually done by noon. So I try to keep it to the morning hours so that I have the afternoon to work. But this isn't taking into account the amount of time I spend also like planning everything out and gathering resources and all of that. That I usually do on the weekends. So hours. I don't know. I usually spend a couple hours each weekend planning things out. But yeah, I try to make it pretty much just the mornings. If we go over, we go over, but it doesn't happen that often. We've gotten into a pretty good rhythm where we pretty much stick to the same time frame each day. Somebody wants to see my morning basket soon. I'm planning to do a video about that in the near future, so stay tuned for that. I will be showing you guys. We don't really have a lot of new stuff going on right now, so I haven't really felt the urge to film a morning basket video, but I do have a couple things that I've added, so perhaps I'll make a video about that soon. I have it on my agenda to get to that. Okay, somebody asked me if you could go back and do anything differently when planning out Build Your Library levels, what would it be? Ooh, that's a really interesting question. What would I do differently? I don't know. I think one of the things, obviously I've been doing updates, so clearly I'm doing things differently as I'm doing the updates, but that's not necessarily something I would have thought about when I was originally writing, just because like I'm adding things as I come upon new books and that kind of stuff. So, oh, I know. I think, and this is something I'm currently thinking about too, when I started writing them, I didn't even consider the idea that people in other countries would be using this. It never once occurred to me. But I do have international customers. I have several, I have customers in Canada and New Zealand. I have customers in Europe. So like South Africa, Japan, which completely blows my mind. But obviously I have 3 levels that are focused on American history. So what do you do if you're an international customer and you come up on level 5? You don't need to study American history for 2 years to do 5 and 6. So I would love to come up with an alternate for that. It's not something I even remotely considered when I started. But obviously it's something I'm thinking about now. So if I could go back in time, I don't know, I would have written something as an alternate for that, but I don't know exactly what. Like I don't necessarily want to do another world history just because you're gonna hit that again in level 8. So I don't know yet. I've been batting around some ideas. So that's something that I would like to do something about, just so that those customers in particular, but also anyone else who doesn't necessarily want to spend 2 years on American history could do. Somebody else wants to know, how do I manage to read so many books? Am I a fast reader? I don't think I'm a fast reader. It depends on the book. There are books that I've read very quickly, but I wouldn't necessarily call myself a fast reader. I think probably the biggest reason I read so much is because it's kind of my job. So like I can justify a lot of the reading I do as work, because it is. Like I'm constantly reading something that I'm making lesson plans for, or that I'm reading to review for something, or you know, so it's my job. So I devote more time to it than I would if I were doing other things. If I wasn't working, if I didn't have this job, I probably wouldn't read as much because I'd be spending that time on other tasks. But because it's my job, I devote more time to it. But also, I would say that it's like one of those things where if you really want to do it, you'll find the time. So I would always be a reader. I don't think if I were not running Build Your Library and all of that, I would still be reading a lot. I just might not be reading as much middle grade necessarily, or as much stuff for that kind of thing. I would probably still manage to read somewhere in the 80 to 90 books a year range. So I don't think it would be a huge difference, but because I am working and spending that extra time reading, it is more. Somebody else wanted to know how I rate books, like my system. That's also a thing I was going to be doing a video for. So I don't know if I want to answer that right now because I did plan on making a whole video about it. So like the morning basket thing, like I'll get to it. Somebody else wanted to know why I started this channel. I don't think I had any like plan for it. I remember kind of haphazardly stumbling onto this booktube concept, like that there was people on the internet talking about books, and I thought, wow, I want in on that. That sounds like fun. I don't have people to talk to about books. Like I don't have people close to me in my life that are bookish, so I don't have anyone to chat about that with. Well, I do now because Sarah is also very bookish, and so we talk about books all the time. But like I didn't have anybody at that time that I could like gush about books with. So I was like, let me do that. Let me start a channel and I'll be able to talk about books. And then I was like, oh, it could also be things related to homeschooling too. So I don't know. I think part of the reason my channel hasn't grown like crazy big, like some of the other booktube channels I follow, besides that I'm a weirdo, is that I don't talk just about books, and but I also don't talk just about homeschooling. Like I feel like you're better, you'll grow more as a YouTuber if you stay in one lane, which I don't. and I don't know how to do that. Like, I'm a multifaceted person. I have lots of different things I want to talk about, and so I don't know. But I'm glad I have it. It's been a really fun outlet for me. I've been doing this since, I think I started my channel in October of 2015. So it's been a while. So I don't know, it's like a fun hobby I have. Do I make money at it? Not really. Like, yeah, well, I do make some, but not enough to like make it a job. Like, I don't know. I see people all the time like acting like YouTube is a job, and maybe for some people it is, but in my experience it doesn't really pan out that way. I guess maybe if you get a lot of sponsorships and stuff, but like you don't make enough on AdSense to qualify it as a job. But it's a lot of fun, so I don't even really think of it that way. Okay, I'm gonna just do one more because this is going on longer than I planned. Okay, the last one, somebody asked me, is it surreal that you now have 6K followers and publishers sending you ARCs? It is a weird thing. Somebody the other day said something where I was a celebrity, and I didn't. No, I'm not. So, it's weird. My kids tell me all the time that I'm famous, but I'm not really famous so much outside of like a very small group of people, which is that really famous? 6,000 is big. Like, I'd been waiting to hit like a threshold where I felt like I've grown as a YouTube channel, and I felt like 6K would be that threshold. And I don't know, it's weird. It's a weird thing. It's fun to have all these people that I can think of as friends, and like we've never met, but like I feel like we have a lot in common, you know. And publishers sending me ARCs. I don't know if I would say that publishers are sending me ARCs. I have gotten ARCs from publishers, but I've requested them. I've not hit the stage yet where they just like think of me and send me books. Like, I want that. Please, publishers, anyone out there listening, if you think of books that you think I'll like, please send them to me. I would love to hit a point where I just like get tons of free books. I'm not there yet though. One of the things that I've loved the most about doing this, not just the YouTube channel, but Build Your Library and History Book by Book and all of that in general, like, I have become so immersed in the book world. Like, I hear about titles well before they're out, and like stuff is on my radar for months at a time. Sometimes I have the ability to get an ARC of it because I'm so excited about reading it that I need it in my hands even if it's not finished yet. Yeah, I don't know. I'm very immersed in the book world, which is very cool. Tiny Emily would be so excited to know that this was her future. I don't know. I've always been a book person. I've always loved books. So I never knew as a child that like this could be a job, that I could someday work with books and be like a book promoter. Am I a book influencer? Is that a thing I am? I don't know. I've not thought about that until this moment, but maybe I am a book influencer. I don't know. That's fun to think about. So that was lots of fun. I didn't get to all the questions, but this is going way longer than I thought it would. Thanks so much for sending me your questions, and thanks for watching. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Happy reading. Bye.